Welcome again to the Mystic Revolution. In this episode, we're going to talk about being a compassionate warrior or compassion warriors, what that means, what that entails, and why it's so important right now.
Welcome to Mystic Revolution. Join Susana and Wendy for insightful conversations and guided meditations.
With me again is Wendy, again out in the beautiful woods. She just lives out there in the trees.
True fact.
Yeah. But before we get started, let's go ahead and do a quick grounding meditation and bring ourselves in. So I invite you to close your eyes. And let's take a nice deep breath in and out. And let yourself just settle into your chair or the space and place that you're sitting or lying down. Really feeling your body settling in. Feeling the weight of it. Feeling the presence of it. And as we've done before, let yourself then turn inward into your heart space, into your core, and then allow your own inner illumination to brighten up, to turn up. In fact, see if you can turn it up even more, tuning into the idea of a beautiful ball of light within you, within your heart and core. And then let's go ahead and ground ourselves from there. Beautiful grounding cords straight through your torso, down through your first chakra, all the way down to the center of the earth, the heart of the earth. And let yourself feel the heart of the earth in your own heart. See if you can call up the earth's heart energy in your own heart. And maybe even send your own heart energy down to the center there. Beautiful. Let's take a nice deep breath in and out. And allow yourself to be in this space of love and connection and groundedness as we launch into our next topic. Compassion warriors.
Woo!
And I just want to say, we start these meditations and we do it with every episode, in part for the practice of going inward and cultivating that inner strength, that core strength and connection. Because that, in building that helps us start to embody our own sovereignty. And I know sovereign strength is something that you want to talk to in this episode. But when we can start to do these little practices, and we can start to really, really embody it. So, but I'm going to let you take it from here, Wendy.
Yeah, really embody it. And like going to the soul gym, having the strength, inner strength, inner endurance, inner balance, inner flexibility. What we learn, at the gym and doing our physical workouts and sports, we can do internally, and it really makes a difference. So the first part, I want to really say hi to three things today in Compassion Warriors. And the first one is holding our own space and having our own internal soul certainty in uncertain times.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start with something that might for some people might be confrontational. And if it is, do me a favor and just let go like sand in your hands. And if you like it, great. But I feel like our culture is really getting out of balance. We're not exercising mastery. We're personally, a lot of us personally and collectively are getting run by what's not for our best interests. So there's emotions and thoughts are out of control. Beliefs, instincts, projections, other people's energy and information are running our own show.
Could
For a
not
lot
agree
of
with you
us.
more.
And
1,000%.
it's not working.
No.
So it's like the horse is running away with the rider. And there's a lot of upset about this. And, we can't afford it anymore. Things just are crazy. So, and I feel like it's important to go back to basics, go back to the soldier. Internal development and understanding, I think, is what we need. Learning to focus our attention and have conscious intention, develop our inner discipline and authority.
Yes.
Tap into our sacred desire and really be actively creating. Last time we were talking about, creativity and change. Like, can we get on the horse and have it go where we want instead of it just running away from us?
Yeah.
So this leads to talking about really developing our capacity, maturing or unveiling into being the captain of our life, the masters of our destiny, mastering our own energy.
Mastering our own energy. And I feel that a place to start and then continuously tend to, right, is compassion. Of course, compassion for others, but compassion for ourselves. And part of the running wild and all these disparate spirals of things going around is because so many people have not tended to their own inner stuff.
Yes.
Whether it's wounding, whether it's confusion, whether it's belief systems that are no longer working for them, operating from an inward place of confusion and chaos and likely some anxiety. And then in the habit of looking outward for guidance, direction, a hand to hold, like on the subway, to hold you up.
Yeah.
But not finding one that's
Yes.
stable or that fits or that really gives that sense of direction and safety. And the clinging to something, anything, has led to, I think, this vehemence. We talked about it in our last episode of like,
Yes.
I'm right, you're wrong, right?
Yes.
This vehemence because it's the one thing that we can hold on to, the one thing that feels like it might be certain.
Yeah.
And so we have to be compassionate with ourselves first and understand that. And then we can start moving into that more sovereign space. So I just talked a lot and kind of set a little bit of a stage, but like,
great.
can you elaborate on that? Like how are you thinking about that?
Yeah. And so to wrap it all up, like, it seems like they're doing it to me or it's happening to me,
Yes.
which are both victim stances. Nothing wrong, but it's not. Can we learn to drive our own car? It's like we're monarchs in our own space that we've abdicated our role.
We've given away our power.
We've given away our power. And not everybody all the time. And it's a trend.
Yeah.
So some things, and this our whole next season is going to be on mastering energy. And so I'm just going to like kind of be rattling off a bunch of things here. But can we, as you said, find our inner sovereignty again? And what I say goes in my own space, which is our birthright. Can I allow the power of life or the power of the divine to flow through me so I am empowered instead of controlling or manipulating? Can I get my free will back, which I've given away to belong or to survive? Can I get it back so that I have choice back? With the power and the will, am I allowed to have natural internal energetic boundaries that I can then assist with the outside instead of trying to just have boundaries but really not have any at all?
That is such a great point. The idea of natural boundaries. We actually have them.
We actually have them, and they work.
And they work if we allow it, but we're so like, I've got to set a boundary. I'm setting a boundary. And I mean, that's and I don't mean to laugh because it's part I did it.
It's a learning.
It's a learning. I had to learn how to do that to be able to recognize, oh, the boundary is my force field. The boundary is my energy. The boundary is me standing in all that I am, right? In connection with the divine, in connection with all that is. That's the boundary. Yeah.
That's the boundary. Yeah. And like, I have this story from when I was young in my first job. Like I had to lead adults. I was just out of college. I had to lead like grown-ups, like mothers and stuff. And my boss sent me off to assertiveness training. I could have taught the training. I knew assertiveness backward and forward, but I wasn't being it. I couldn't have it here, but I knew how to do it, but I didn't know how to be it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference that we're talking about.
The difference. And, it's easy to know things intellectually. It's easy to read things in a book or sit in a class and hear it. And, oh, that resonates with me. That feels good. How do you take that and make that part of your day-to-day life?
Yes.
When no one else is around or in the heat of something, how do you do that?
How do you be it? And that's the crux of what we're talking about everywhere in our conversations. It just sounds like we're talking about doing it. The doing comes out of the being when the cart is behind the horse.
Yeah. And I mean, not to go totally off tangent, I don't think it is, but so many of us have been taught that it's only by doing that we have value or that we have worth.
Yes.
And so we got to do it and we got to be responsible. And if we do the right thing in the right way, then we'll get the gold star, then we'll get the acceptance, then we'll get the love. Do.
Yes.
And meanwhile, our souls are crying out inside. And we're acting out of this sort of a crying soul in a way that's not helping ourselves or others. So repeating what we said, but
yes. And then there's all this spiritual gifts and beauty and fruit and glory that is just waiting to flow through us and in our world, and we don't let it.
We don't let
it. Because the cart is on top of the horse. So mastering our energy, captain of our life. And we did say the word certainty, and we're not talking about intellectual certainty in that case. We're talking about spiritual certainty, which builds on direct soul experience, discernment, then certainty. We're certain of the direct experience of our soul, spiritual and physical too. And then from there, like a crazy word to say, faith. Can we walk that out? Oh, this is the way. Can I hold on to that way? Can I keep doing it? Do I have the inner discipline to not get carried away and do the things?
Right.
So anyway, out of all this captain of our life thing, mastering energy, I believe what I see is naturally blooms our soul leadership. We start to really make our unique impact by our being and doing. And so that's a very fast hello to a lot of stuff that we're going to say hi to next season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
we started
setting it up that we need it. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. And, in order to be that soul leader, cultivating that compassion.
Yes.
And I've heard you say uncommon compassion. Uncommon
Yes,
compassion.
that's a good word.
It's such a good word.
What does that
Uncommon
mean to you?
compassion. It means the kind of compassion that is present fully and completely with all that is as it is, and can see and can listen and be present deeply without the ego getting in the way, without the judgment and the chatter going on. And, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. It is a practice. And I don't know. Just in doing that, I just get a feeling in my body. I know what it feels like. And it's sort of one of those things that you just have to practice being it. But
Yes, being it.
What do you think?
On the being, I just want to say, I believe our natural experience, certainly from the heart chakra, but in general, we're all one. Everything's one. We're one fabric with each other and the whole, the whole universe and all that is. We're one, playing a game of two and I thou. But the consciousness of that oneness is right here. It's right here.
Yeah.
If we're willing to let go and experience it. And some of us are super armored against it, and some of us are tasting it and not believing it, and some of us are in the flow. And so just saying yes to that can make a big difference. And doing all the things that we're talking about, like Soul Gym. It's our birthright to and the natural, the beingness of the affinity, the oneness experience naturally flows as compassion in our perspective and behavior.
Yeah,
If we're in that
absolutely.
consciousness.
If we're in that consciousness, and as we've talked about before, if we're in that consciousness, so much of the stuff that we talked about that gets in the way, it just dissolves. It just goes away almost effortlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to experience, well, I'm just going to say that idea of full compassion for ourselves, or
Yes.
loving ourselves. And, I remember, I've had many therapists and mentors over my lifetime. And I remember one saying, well, all you got to do is love yourself. And I was like, what? What are you even talking about?
I know.
Now I understand it, of course. But at the time, I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about or how to even start doing that,
I know.
And it seemed insurmountable and so hard. And so I started doing all these things and, all the exercises and all the, the doer things that you do to love yourself. And that didn't really work.
Right.
Yeah.
From the outside.
Yeah.
I had the same exact experience. My main spiritual teacher, she's just like, basically it was like, well, you know what the problem is, Wendy. You just have to learn to love yourself. It's just like, what the F does that mean? Like, that's nice. Can you
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like, are you actually like looking at me? Because I was in a spiral of thinking I was just this terrible, awful person that shouldn't
Yeah.
exist. Like, I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't think you really see what's going on here.
Right. Well, people don't necessarily know how.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that we delve into with the work we do with people,
Yeah.
groups and individuals. And we, if people ask, we'll do it behind, in the community.
Yeah.
It's like, it's internal, focused attention, intention, just like all the other things.
Yeah.
But it's not always obvious.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
It's not.
but I love that, if we want to bring compassion, that we need to be in compassion. We need to be compassion. This whole thing is like in our field, we're in a waterfall of whatever, so if we want to be love, we need to be in love.
Mm,
Or else it doesn't work.
yeah,
So
I love that.
okay.
All right.
So
Well, should we
break
take a
time.
little break and come back? I'll come back with more of this good stuff.
Yes, hope, not desperation. Come back for hope, not desperation.
Thank you, We Are Historically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Hey friends, Susana and I want to remind you that we offer a Mystic Revolution meditation. It's the first Tuesdays at 4:30 Pacific. Please come as our guest. You can see our website for the link. And thank you for playing with us.
Raise your vibration and energize your life with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks that deepen meditations and empower self-healing. Get your vibrational sound tools for personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
Hi there. Welcome back to the Mystic Revolution. And we were just talking about love. Love, loving self, being in love, loving others, and how the idea of love and loving yourself is nice and all, but how the heck do you do it? How do you get there? And how do you step into the idea of being a compassionate warrior, of being a force of love in this in these times,
Yes.
And there's, I mean, gosh, this is such a multifaceted topic, but we've been talking a little bit about, this idea we have these two sides, or you got to take a side, or you're this or you're that. But I do think the idea of discussing love and fear, hope and desperation, those are such big feelings. And I know all of these things are coming up for people in a myriad of ways. And so, Wendy, do you want to start to untangle that a little bit?
Yeah, and again, I want to say some stuff that's a little intense, and I don't want to. I am probably sounding like a silver hair. Kids these days, oh, everything's going to hell, But
But you do have
sure,
beautiful silver hair,
I
so
do, so I might as well talk like one. You know, I feel it seems to me, and talking to so many and listening to the general social conversations, there's tremendous amount of desperation and despair going on. It's rampant.
yeah,
There's a lot of depression and anxiety, PTSD, suicidal ideation,
yeah,
overwhelm, emotional, energetic overwhelm,
grief.
grief, um, so much overcoming trauma and abuse, et cetera, right? It's really intense.
It
And
is.
so I looked it up. I'm just like, what's going on? And I looked up at a very believable website. I just want to say two statistics. In a 12-day period, last 2021, the beginning of October, there was a big, deep study, and over almost 32% of adults in the United States reported symptoms of anxiety and or depression.
Mhm.
So almost a third of the people in a 10-day period, 12-day period,
I think that's lowball number.
just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And
it's a huge amount, but I think it's even higher than
it's
that.
crazy.
Yeah.
And the same website said, and I'm going on to the drugs. Deaths due to drug overdose increased by 30% from 2019 to 2020, primarily because of opioids. But there's so much dependence. I mean, it's really kind of boggling how much dependence there is on mood altering substances.
Yes.
Prescriptions for depressions, anxiety, etc., as well as other substances, legal and illegal. There's enormous amount of altering going on,
Totally.
as well as addiction and distraction, just rampant. So I'm not saying this like complaining. I'm saying like the house is on fire. Can we get the fire hose? And us mystics, we have direct access to hope and love and life and joy and peace. Like we have direct access. Can we let it assuage our fire first? Can it let deal with all this shit in our own space, basically?
Yeah.
And then be beholding the light and love and truth and beauty and bring it to the world energetically and in the way we walk and talk.
I totally agree. And I'm just going to be honest, as a former addict, and someone who used things and did things to cope.
Yeah.
I went through a lot of different kinds of help and traditional modalities. And I'm not going to say they didn't help, they did. But there's a difference between stopping the behavior and then healing your soul.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I allowed myself to step into that, to acknowledge that there really was like this hole in my heart where something was missing,
Yes.
that I pulled myself totally out of that paradigm, totally out of it completely. And I think when I was in the throes of that, I could have little hints of it now and again, like induced, right? But it wasn't the true thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the true thing. And
Yeah.
so, anyway, we were talking about compassion earlier. My compassion out to anyone who is struggling with that, anything like that, or knows anyone that is struggling with anything like that. I think allowing mysticism to be part of your life can be just such a, not just a soothing grace, but a solution in ways. So,
Yes.
okay, I'll get off
Yes.
that.
And I think there's almost no one who isn't dealing with it.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a tremendous amount of pain. There's a tremendous amount of fear. There's a tremendous amount of loss. That it's just, this is the world we live in. And meanwhile, we also live in a world in which we already talked about this, but now bringing it in, heaven now is available. No matter if our life seems great or if our life seems like hell, the love, the sacred love, the sacred truth, sacred beauty is joy, peace. It's right here. It's right here. Are we willing to drink it and eat it and let it supplant the disturbance, the horror in our system? Are we
Yeah.
willing? It's not an easy process for most of
It's
us.
it's not an easy process. And it I think it requires an invitation to turn your attention to what you're speaking to. And then ultimately a little bit of a discipline. I mean, we
Yeah.
talk a little bit about having mystic practices. It's not like Wendy and I walk around and they're like, all the time, right? Like we have deep practices that we do
Yes.
every day, and work with each other and other people. And but it's like anything, the more you do it, the more easy it is, and you start to understand that our bodies are actually built for this. Like we're
Mhm.
actually built for this, and we've somehow ended up in a world where we're kind of under all the problems and all the feelings and all the stuff. I don't know, you were talking a little bit about that earlier, Wendy. Can you speak more to that?
And
Yeah.
it's like, we are here to say a different way of living is possible.
Yeah.
That is not perfect and not without problems and challenges, but amazing. And I really believe that the mystic path it just shifts us, and it shifts our world, and we really need it.
Yeah. And
the world needs it.
My experience of it is the more that I leaned into it, the more solid and centered I became, the more grounded I became. Like quite the opposite of thinking you're airy fairy up in the air. Like quite the opposite. I became much more straight on and solid, clear, and more able to master my energy, master my emotions, master my mind, my mindset.
Yes.
And start to understand that I had access to energy, information, ideas, power that I never would have realized. I never could have realized.
I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's really good stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When dancing with the divine, or however you want to say.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. All right.
All right.
Well, thanks again for another lovely convo, and I'll let you get back to your tree friends. But before we go, let's just do a quick closing meditation. So I invite you to just close your eyes and again tune into yourself, sort of settled into yourself. See if you can call in energy of solidness and that core ball of light that we talked about before in your heart. And allow yourself in this moment to be strong. To be strong, whatever that means to you. And then also allow your heart to be free and open up, if you can, into compassion for yourself, for others. If that feels hard, you can, right? We can always feel empathy and compassion for, I don't know, a little child or a baby animal. Allow the feeling of that come into your heart. And with that, let's just open our eyes and say one more goodbye. Wendy, do you want to say anything else before we close?
Thanks for a great season, friends. We look forward to you playing with you next season in Mastering Energy.
Yeah.
And that concludes this portion of Mystic Revolution. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to get notified of new content. And don't forget to like and share. Join the Mystic Revolution. Click on the link in the description to get more information or visit themysticrevolution.com. Another creative art production by Retro Earth Studio.
The idea of what we're talking about, I know that there are people that are thinking this way all over the world, and when we can find them and unite with them, wow, it can make such a difference.